I'm playing in the Thavorian Skies Draft League Season 2, which is a VGC draft league hosted by the Thavorian Skies Discord server. I have played in draft leagues before, but this is my first one that will be held in Pokemon Champions, and I'm super excited for it. In case you aren't familiar with draft leagues, I'll go over the basics. This is a VGC tournament that consists of 8 regular season matches followed by a single elimination bracket for top cut. One match is played each week. At the beginning of the tournament, there's a draft where each person in turn will choose Pokemon to add to their roster. Each person will choose 10 Pokemon, and those are the only Pokemon you're allowed to use in your matches. Once a person has chosen a particular Pokemon, no one else can choose that Pokemon. So if you're the one who takes Mega Charizard Y, for instance, then you're the only one who will ever be able to use that Pokemon in any of the matches. Each Pokemon is assigned a point value that corresponds to its strength, and players have a total of 100 points to work with point values for individual Pokemon ranging from 1 to 20. Mega Evolutions are treated separately from regular Pokemon. So for instance, one person can draft Kangaskhan and another person can draft Mega Kangaskhan, and they may have different point values. If you draft the Mega form of a Pokemon, then it's required to hold the Mega Stone in every battle it comes to. However, you're not required to Mega Evolve it. Matches in this tournament are closed team sheet best of 3, which means that you may not have a ton of information about your opponent's team at the start of the match. And even if you lose a game, for instance, you can still try to get information which might help you win the remaining games in the match. The draft is a snake draft format, meaning that a random order will be chosen, and after each person has drafted one Pokemon, then it'll go back up the list in reverse order, and then repeat this until each person has chosen 10. And now let's take a look at the Pokemon that I've drafted for my team, the Birdwatchers. As it so happens, I was first overall in a draft of 14 people. This meant that when it came back around to me, I would get 2 picks in a row. However, it would be a long time between my first and my second picks. As a result, I wanted to pick something that would be good with almost anything. I chose Mega Aerodactyl. This is one of the fastest Pokemon in the format, and it also gets access to the move Tailwind, which can be very useful to get speed control for my entire team. It's a flexible Mega because base form Aerodactyl is also very good, and was also 17 points. So I can choose not to Mega Evolve Aerodactyl, and the only thing I miss out on is having an item. Aerodactyl is fast, hits quite hard with its Tough Claws ability, and is something that I'm pretty much never going to be unhappy to have on the field. My second pick was Maushold. This is a highly flexible Pokemon that can be run as a support Pokemon or as a sweeper. On the support side, Maushold gets access to the Friend Guard ability, which reduces damage its ally takes by 25%. It also gets a ton of supportive moves, most notably Follow Me, which can protect its ally, but also Encore, Super Fang, Taunt, etc. But Maushold also has an offensive mode with its signature move Population Bomb. With the Technician ability and the item Wide Lens, Population Bomb is basically guaranteed to hit 10 times with a total effective power of 300. Maushold is also very fast, and so this threat of Population Bomb is something that my opponents will have to respect even when they don't know what kind of set I'm running. I wanted to draft Annihilape to go along with Maushold because that was a classic combo from Scarlet and Violet, but unfortunately Annihilape was already taken. Instead, I went for a different ghost type, Hisuian Typhlosion. I wanted to have a ghost type to pair with Maushold because Maushold can redirect ghost moves away, and Maushold is only threatened by fighting moves, which I could potentially switch Hisuian Typhlosion into. Hisuian Typhlosion was only 8 points, and to me it seemed pretty undervalued. It has access to Eruption, which is an incredibly powerful fire-type spread move. Its ghost type means it's immune to Fake Out, and it gives it a secondary stab option with Shadow Ball. It's pretty fast and hits quite hard, and for only 8 points, I felt like it was a steal. My next pick was Mega Meowstic. This one is a bit of a loophole because Meowstic has 2 different forms for the 2 different genders, and they do have different abilities and learn sets. However, the Mega is considered one form, so if you draft Mega Meowstic, then you get to use either the male or the female base form. The male base form has Prankster, which is a very useful ability, and the female base form, while much weaker, does have Competitive, which can punish opposing Intimidate. It's possible that I could get a competitive boost on female Meowstic and then Mega Evolve it, gaining some actual stats. The reason I wanted a Prankster user is because I was concerned about weather. I had seen a lot of Pokemon be taken that had weather abilities like Mega Charizard Y, Mega Frostlass, Mega Tyranitar, and Pelipper, and I really wanted some way to change the weather quickly if I felt like I needed to. Since Meowstic gets both Rain Dance and Sunny Day, that should be good to get rid of whatever weather that I really need gone, depending on the circumstance. My 5th pick was Serperior, which was kind of a budget pick at only 5 points. I knew I was planning to get a ground type at some point because I wanted something that I could click Earthquake with next to Mega Aerodactyl, and so it seemed like my team was starting to have a pretty serious water weakness. Therefore, I was looking for a grass type. Originally, I wanted Sarina, but unfortunately Sarina had gotten sniped in the previous round. so I chose Superior. It's not the most offensive Pokemon, it only has 75 attack and special attack, but it's pretty fast, it's got decent bulk, and it has the contrary ability, which means that even though it doesn't start strong, after one Leaf Storm, its special attack will rise 2 stages and will actually become quite dangerous. It does also have decent support potential, with Light Screen and Reflect as well as Glare for speed control. My 6th pick was the often overlooked base form Eternal Flower Floette. Everyone goes on and on about Mega Floette, but even the base form here has pretty decent stats. I wanted to get a Fairy type because I wanted something that could deal with all the strong dragons in the meta, such as Hydreigon, Garchomp, Dragonite, etc. Originally, I had my eye on Gardevoir for 9 points, but I realized that for 2 points more, I could get a Pokemon with strictly better stats. It has the same special attack as Gardevoir, and better speed and better bulk. I lose the Psychic type, but that does give it fewer weaknesses, and I also already have a Psychic type Pokemon. I also don't have access to Trick Room, but my team is so fast, I'm not really planning on using Trick Room here. Beyond that, Floette is pretty much just a powerful Fairy type. It has access to all the normal Fairy moves, Draining Kiss, Dazzling Gleam, Moonblast. It gets set up with Calm Mind. It also gets Pollen Puff, which could be used for coverage or to heal up a teammate. Its abilities are not the most useful, but Gardevoir's aren't that great either, so I wasn't really that worried about that. It's possible I could do tricks with Symbiosis to pass an item to a teammate. I mentioned previously that I wanted a physical attacking ground type to use Earthquake with, and here it is. Crocodile for 9 points provides a lot of value. In addition to being a ground type, it's also a dark type, which is another strong offensive type that I don't have, and it gives me some resistances to Dark and Ghost, which I was somewhat lacking. It's pretty fast and has really good coverage with access to moves like Gunk Shot, Close Combat, and Aqua Tail. It also has the Intimidate ability, which of course is very useful in VGC. If I don't want to run Intimidate, there's also the option of Moxie, which could potentially let Crocodile spiral out of control if it gets a couple KOs. All in all, a very flexible Pokemon, and one I'm likely to be able to find some use for in any given matchup. For my last 3 picks, I wanted to focus a little more on bulk. As I was planning out my last few picks, I was looking at Pokemon like Scolipede, like Greninja, like Blaziken, and I eventually decided that I had enough speed and I should probably try to pick up some bulk. And what better option for bulk than Mega Aggron? I didn't have a Steel type yet. In fact, I didn't have anything that was good against Fairy types, so I wanted to pick up some kind of Steel type. Astute viewers might notice that this is a 3rd Mega Evolution, and you're only allowed to Mega Evolve 1 Pokemon per battle. So I'm not going to be bringing Mega Aggron every week. However, this is something that opponents definitely do have to worry about when they're team building. If they bring too many physical attackers, or if they let their special attackers get taken out early, then Mega Aggron could just come in and sweep in the endgame. This also gives me something to do if my opponent manages to set up Trick Room. Obviously, with all the fast things I have, I'm going to try to prevent Trick Room, but if it goes up anyway, then hopefully Aggron will be able to do some damage. Next up is another budget pick for Alligator at only 3 points. Having a water type is nice, completing my Fire, Water, Grass core. Even though for Alligator isn't the most flexible, it still can exert a lot of pressure with Sheer Force and Life Orb, especially because it does get both Dragon Dance and Swords Dance. It also has access to Priority with Aqua Jet, which is something my team was kind of lacking. Although I've got a lot of speed on the team, I still want to have some access to Priority, because probably people will be bringing Priority moves against me, and also there are plenty of ways to outspeed what I have, for instance Chlorophyll, Swift Swim, etc. My final pick with my 14 remaining points was Como-O. As I mentioned, I was worried about water types, and having a dragon type is just good defensively in general. I also wanted to have a fighting type, because fighting is just a very strong offensive typing, and Como-O just happens to be both of those. It also is a very flexible Mon, which is very nice for draft. It can be a physical or special attacker with its signature setup move Clangor's Soul, which costs 1/3 of its max HP but increases each of its stats by 1. It also gets other setup options like Swords Dance, Belly Drum, and Iron Defense. Also, Como-O has 3 different abilities that all could potentially be useful in different matchups: Soundproof, Bulletproof, and Overcoat. Although it's mostly going to be an offensive threat, it does get some supportive options such as Coaching to boost up a teammate or Upper Hand to stop priority moves into the team. So that's everyone. I'll aim to be posting my matches every week, so stay tuned for that, and I'll see you next week for the first match.